Okay, if we could get seated, I'd like to start our last panel, and after that, our closing remarks. And if our panel members could come up to the stage now for the National Security, Aerospace, and AI panel. Thank you. Everyone could take their seats now. We can get started. Okay, thank you. This is our last panel for the day, National Security, Aerospace, and AI. And the moderator for this session is Patricia Knighten. She is the Director of Innovation, Commercialization, the Office of Intellectual Property at Arrowhead Center at New Mexico State, who is one of our partners in putting on this event. So pleased to welcome her and look forward to the panel.
Good afternoon, everybody wide awake. I noticed there's a few empty spots up front, so we would love to huddle in if anybody is so inclined, because as I think someone mentioned, we're starting to see national security emerge in the investment in VC market. Well, really, in many ways, national security is everything, right? How many technologies don't fit into national security? But today we're going to talk a lot about aerospace, and you will see the presentation of 4 technologies, and then we'll follow the same format. We will have the, I'll ask a few questions. I'll invite questions from the audience. I do note, because there's a column here, so if you have a question and I'm not stopping or something, please kind of pop your head around the corner and make sure to acknowledge you. So our panel is going to introduce themselves and step forward and give the short presentation, and then we will engage with them after 4 presentations for some dialogue. Thanks for staying. It's a beautiful day, but it's better here. Yeah.
Good afternoon. In the August of 2020, a massive explosion rocked Beirut, Lebanon, leaving 300,000 people homeless. At the time, the size of the blast was so large it was perfectly reasonable to ask, was this the result of a nuclear attack? And given that that was a concern, the stakes couldn't have been higher. Because if this had been a nuclear attack, we would have had a very, very short period of time to respond. And of course, if we had responded to this large industrial accident as if it was a nuclear attack, that would have meant the end of the world as we know it. What we learned from this event was that we need to develop AI-powered methods to help us make high-stakes decisions very quickly. And we can't rely on existing state-of-the-art technologies like large language models or LLMs, because these technologies have the tendency to make up false information. And we can't afford to start a nuclear war just because ChatGPT has made one of its famous mistakes. So if we want to maintain our national and global security, we need to develop these large language models that cannot lie. My name is Cale Crowder. I'm a senior member of the technical staff at Sandia National Laboratories, and I'm leading a team of 9 world-class experts in trusted AI with a collaboration at UCLA to develop this technology. Despite the fact that large language models lie to us, the LLM market is booming. Google LLMs boast 2 billion users per month. Microsoft LLMs are slated to have $72 billion in revenue this year from LLMs. And even conservative estimates of the LLM market are projected to be $123 billion by 2034. In a market this large, how can we make a difference? Well, it turns out that line LLMs aren't just a problem in national security. We had the opportunity to interview 81 stakeholders across all of these different areas. And what they told us was that if they had a technology like ours, even compared to technologies like ChatGPT and domain-specific LLMs that could save 87 to 97% of their time when they're making high-stakes decisions. We spoke with an expert in cybersecurity who gave us this statement that LLMs that are 99.9% accurate are unusable because they would completely overwhelm downstream systems with 1 million false positives per second. And if we had a lawyer who told us that in order to use LLMs to cite case law, those LLMs need to be 100% accurate. So clearly existing LLMs aren't meeting our customers' needs. Our first love when we were funded to work on this project was national security, like I talked about. But through these customer interviews, we figured out that maybe national security wasn't our beachhead market. We were told that there's an 18-month sales cycle and that we could speed things up quite a bit and reduce our customer acquisition costs if we instead went after a consumer model, which is what we're considering doing today. And one of the other benefits of going after a consumer market is that it means that we can potentially bring a product to market faster because consumers, their decisions just aren't quite as high stakes as national security. So we can start with a consumer market, a B2C model, before moving into the national security space. And as this market approaches $123 billion in annual revenue, we think that a successful product launch here could result in annual revenues for us as high as $17 billion. So how can we create these LLMs that cannot lie? Well, one of the things we have to understand is that today's LLMs, they're willing to give you an answer so long as it's semantically or grammatically correct, even if it's not factually correct. And so one of our key innovations is that we check that every answer produced by an LLM is consistent with some source of information, or at least not inconsistent with that source of information. The way we do that is that when a user asks a question, we use a process called machine reasoning to select information from a database such as the internet, reason about that information, and then provide relevant information to a large language model, which produces an answer in plain English. We then use that same machine reasoning process to check that the answer is correct before providing the answer to the user. This system has two key innovations. The first one is that we represent the information in such a way that we're able to reason over it. And this is different than what a lot of people are doing today. So there's many LLMs out there that are pulling information in from a trusted database, but we can actually reason over that information. And then, of course, we use that reasoning process, this is innovation number 2, to check that the answer is correct. So we have sort of 3 technologies here that work all in concert. We have the LLMs plus machine reasoning concept that I just told you about. But we have improved that by allowing the system to come up with answers to questions that no human knows the answer to. That's something that current LLMs are not very good at. And then we've also implemented guardrails that allow us to allow the LLMs to create statements that are appropriate for public release, even if those statements were created using information that's sensitive, such as personal, proprietary, or classified information. So today's LLMs are really, really large because small LLMs are really, really bad at reasoning. But if we use machine reasoning to do the reasoning, then we can use LLMs that are smaller, faster, and more energy efficient. And this gives us a major competitive advantage because it means that we can decrease the time that it takes us to generate an answer by 87 to 97%. It can decrease the energy cost of our LLMs by 100 to 6,000x compared to state-of-the-art solutions like ChatGPT. And in doing so, we can actually increase the accuracy of our answers. And so putting all this together, this means that we can reduce our costs, increasing our profit margins compared to competitors, while better meeting customer needs. So to date, we've been awarded $2.3 million in grant funding that we've used to develop a working prototype of the system and evaluate that system. And we have a nicely working exemplar for our original national security application. In 2006 and 2007, we're looking to use funding that we've already secured to try to improve the computational efficiency of our methods and also allow the LLMs to do some interesting things like generate trustworthy answers even based off of untrusted information like information from social media. In parallel, what we're looking to do is take this national security solution that we're still working on and create a solution that's appropriate for consumers. And so we're looking to generate about $5 million in funding to transition to our consumer model and begin a customer acquisition process. I appreciate your time and attention. I look forward to future conversations today, and if you would like to chat further, please don't hesitate to reach out. Thanks.
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's the antenna doesn't matter. Okay. Good afternoon. Yes, so now we can see it. So today I would like to share some of the work that we've been doing at New Mexico Tech for the last about 20 years, and we call it a AQUASHIELD. It's a one structure where which has been integrated with to perform for a number of functions. So as you can see here, that for last about 20 years, my team at New Mexico Tech, we've been investigating some of the with NASA's. Of course, NASA has got all these issues, so we are trying to understand, like, what are the problems that they are facing, and how we can work to give them some kind of solution. So here, what you can see here is a structure that we are working for the last about 20 years, trying to provide a structure which is going to be providing some of the applications that they need for the scientific, like if the astronauts are going, and we all know that the NASA still not going to Mars because of the many reasons. One of them is the radiation shielding. We still do not understand the radiation environment in the space. As a result, so it's very, very difficult to kind of design a structure that is going to provide you the protection that you need. So in the same way that, when you go for, in the space, you also have other issues, and we are trying to see if we can use some of the natural design concept to design something that might be of use to, in designing this structure. So what I'm going to do today is to look at, what we have done for the last 20 years. We have been working on this, and we have solved this problem in a sense that in our lab and also in the simulations we have done each layer. Supposing if you have to design for the radiation, so we have done a number of studies, and we have got some results. And similarly for micrometeor and orbital debris is another issue that the astronauts are always after that. So the question is that how do you solve this problem? And similarly, the thermal, the extremes that when you go to this Mars, suppose, or for moons, so we are going to be exposed to this kind of environment. And the question is that how do you solve this problem? Now, what they are doing, they are using individual system. As a result, when you add all those systems, what happens is that your structure becomes very, very heavy. And so the question is that how do you make it something that is also feasible? So the first thing that NASA right now, NASA has, they have identified the number of challenges. One of them is the lunar night survival. So what happens is that you are now going to the Mars. Okay, so lunar night survival is that you are going to Mars. Suppose in a lunar surface, the temperature changes. As you can see here, that 300 degrees centigrade from the lunar day and lunar night. And what is lunar night is that, which is equivalent to about 15 days, Earth days. So as a result, which is equivalent to about like 354 hours. And the question is that during that time, your temperature plummets, and also you are complete darkness. As a result, it is very, very difficult to survive. So there is no system right now basically provide you the protection that you need during that 15 days of your lunar night. And also, in addition to that, you'll be having these micrometeor impacts, thermal this fluctuation, also the radiation. So all of those things are something that NASA is they are trying to understand how to take care of that. And as you can see here, that right now there is no existing technology passively survives all these threats simultaneously in a single integrated system. So when you start having this system, separate system, becomes very, very heavy. Okay? And you know that this is a space structure has to be like, say, weight sensitive structure. It has to be lightweight, otherwise you spend so much. Okay? And so in fact, like New Mexico Science and Technology, they have identified this to be an issue. So this is what the problem that we are trying to solve. And then the question is that, where do we find a solution to this problem? As you can see here, it's with you. Your skull. Your skull is something that is protecting your brain. And brain is something that you need all the time. Okay? Brain is with you all the time. You're thinking. So the question is that, what makes your brain so efficient? Because of the structure. And that is what we are trying to copy. So we've been copying this brain structure for the last 20 years. Okay, as you can see here that it's a structure like a sandwich panel. Okay, you have got a compact bone, and then you have got the porous structure, and that is what is being translated. And the result is amazing. So we have been getting very good results for all the situations that we have been looking at. So what we have done here is that we have got 5 layers, and each layer, as you can see here, is going to perform something. Okay, so like the exterior layer is going to be performing against like micrometeor and orbital debris, and it will also have the self-healing characteristics, like your human body. When you have a cut, blood comes out, it clots. So you do not get any more blood out of it. So like that, so as you can see here, the different layers are going to be designed for different applications. The second layer is the radiation shielding layer, and the third one is also water storage layer. Fourth one is your passive thermal your management layer, and the last one is the inner layer here. So what we have done so far is that we've been working on this one. Now that we know that if we have a porous structure filled with some fluid, that can provide you some of the applications that we are looking at, that the NASA is looking for. And as you can see here, that if you are going to be designing that structure, having all those different layers, you have to have something that can make it, okay, the manufacturing. And as a result, what we have done is that we have also invented what we call it a dual-phase 3D printer. So this is a printer that can print both the solid and the fluid simultaneously, and that is what, and this is one cell that we have made using that concept. So what we are doing right now is that if we are able to have this in a printer, 3D printer, which can print the solid and the fluid simultaneously, then we'll be able to make this structure. And this did not come just in one day. So as you can see here, we've been working on this one for last almost like 20 years. Like in 2004, it started in 2004. And we started at that time with work with the AFRL. Then, so, as you can see here, that we have done a number of issues. Like we started with the acoustic validation, then the radiation shielding at Sandia National Lab. Acoustic validation was done in AFRL. Then we have done a lot of space radiation simulations. And then last 2024, we have filed for a provisional one, and now we have received this NASA AppScore funding for going forward. So right now you can see here that we are in TRL3. We are going to TRL 6 in about 3 years. And in our team, we have got like universities like New Mexico Tech, UNM. We also have Sandia National AFRL, and also the three NASA centers like Glenn, White Sands, and Langley, and we also have industry Redware. So all of those we are going forward to design this particular concept. So what is the roadmap? And this is also in line with New Mexico's roadmap alignment. As you all know, that New Mexico has already determined that the space, aerospace, and defense systems is one of the areas where New Mexico Tech can take lead. So right now there are 3 PhD students working at New Mexico Tech and in UNM. And so our goal is that in 3 years, we'll have a spin-out company, and that is going to take it to the market. And this market, as you can see right now, there is a HB20. As we came to know this morning also, that this funding, they can also, they will fund this particular kind of projects. And as you can see here, that AQUASHIELD, the government, industry, and academia, so we are all putting together this particular project. So what I'm looking here, one summer, coming summer, I'm going to devoting the full time trying to develop this particular 3D printer, which is going to print your solid and the fluid simultaneously, and eventually we are going to make one panel, that is why I'm asking for 500K seed funding, and NASA already has given us about 750,000. And so right now, what is going to happen is that if we are able to get this funding, so then we'll be able to take it to the next level, like the manufacturing process. And as a result, then we'll be able to, and then the exit policy would be in 3 years, we'll be able to, some defense prime can accuse, or the licensing can be done, in 3 years. So that is the time frame that I have. So with that, I think I'm done. And I have got a sample here. If you want to see, you can see that sample. Okay.
Am I supposed to press something for things to change? Or
The green.
but that's oh, okay, sorry. Okay, hi. I guess everyone can hear me with this mic? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Shetye, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the sun, the nearest star, and how it affects us. So right now it's sunny outside. And we all love the sun, but my research is talking about how dangerous the sun can be. And we started this research not very long ago. Basically, why we need to study about this, almost every technology discussed here is dependent on space weather issues. Okay? What happens when a space weather issue happens right now? We get the solar storms created at the sun. They travel towards Earth, and whatever systems we are developing, including all our communication satellites, are vulnerable to them. Okay? It is expected in the next few years that we are going to be facing around $2.4 trillion loss if we don't do anything about it. The communication sector itself is vulnerable to it, and a lot of things that we're talking about, AI intelligence, or we're talking about data centers, they are all going to be impacted by these things. And we expect just the communication failures are going to be catastrophic in this field. Okay? So as we start putting in more and more satellites in space, this becomes more and more dangerous, right? One case that I would like to talk about coming from New Mexico, especially being an agri industry, I want to talk about what happened in 2024 in May solar storms that we had. In one weekend, we lost around $0.5 billion. Okay? So I'm talking about the numbers that we are losing because tractors did not do what they had to do, or precision farming, that is what we are doing right now, was off by a few hundred feet. Okay? And our solution to this is kind of catered precision positioning system, which will give you alerts similar to your AccuWeather or some other weather softwares that you have. Okay? And these are our space weather intelligence kind of monitoring systems that we have. Okay? How we are building it? We are building it with a well-funded team. So I started this team just a few years ago with a little bit of fund from NSF FDS's program, and I'm expanding that with a recent group that went from 3 people to 12, including a dog. And we're kind of continuing to build this, and the students themselves are getting them more and more scholarships to continue their work. Okay? So what we have done, last year we were able to predict when the next peak in solar activity is going to happen. This is different from an 11-year cycle that the sun goes through. We are able to predict something that is going to happen 8 months in advance. So when you're talking about governments, they will have enough time to make some decisions when there is going to be peak activity. When we have peak activity, we also saw there are multiple sunspots on the sun that give rise to these flares. We are able to predict these pre-flare signatures with our telescopes, and we can give a nowcasting awareness about 10 to 45 minutes. That solar flare or whatever we have travels to Earth over the next 15 to 18 hours. And at Earth, we have all these communication satellites. Which of these communication satellites are about your farm, about your defense technology that are going to get affected? That is something that we are operationally designing right now. Okay? So what we notice is that, and this is obviously something that has been discovered before, we see that all of our communication satellites, especially the low Earth orbit ones, Starlinks, are kind of one of the best ones here. They start deorbiting, but the deorbiting is not just happening because of the solar storm. It starts deorbiting a few days before these storms. Okay? So when the satellite deorbits, your communication signals become more and more unpredictable. We see that everywhere from banking sectors to our hospitals. What we are trying to do is design a system that can narrow down the area and give you alert systems if you are going to face this geomagnetic storm, and if you are going to face communication loss in that region. Okay? So if your tractors are there where we predict that this is going to happen, we can tell you when to switch on, switch off your tractors, or come up with some mitigation strategies. Okay? What is interesting, what sets us apart in this work is that the industrial standard outside aerospace or defense is around 10% accuracy, and we are at 5% accuracy right now. With that, we have a 5-year timeline to convert our research into a venture that would start creating revenues. By year 2, our apps are going to be out. So right now, I'm still hiring some additional senior researchers. By year 2, we will start producing outputs. We want to start working with some nearby industries, nearby in the sense near Las Cruces. And I want to, by end of 5 years, we would start generating more and more revenue. So this is our revenue model, which invites $1 million investment with a revenue of 7.1 million. Okay. What I'm looking for here is I'm looking for research collaborations. We heard a lot about building a team, and I have two of my team members here, Logan and Marcus. And I want to expand those research collaborations with some of our national labs. I want to build up tie-ups with industrial sectors where we could develop and test our prototypes. So I want to know how much of these alert systems is making a farmer who's growing pecans or green chilies save in money, in terms of money. Okay? And as the team expands and it's a well-funded team, I want to be part of developing employment opportunities and kind of workplace path trajectories for students that we have here in New Mexico. So thank you. I want to leave you with last slide. If you want to know more about the business plan, more about me, how to contact me, and with a drastic scenario where I predict if we don't do anything, we are going to have a societal collapse. I think most of us know that. Thank you.
All right. Let me just test this first. Okay, it's moving forward down there, but not here. Okay, let's see. Perfect. All right, everyone. Thanks for staying for the last session of the day. My name is Adrielly Razzini, and I'm with Los Alamos National Lab, and I'm part of their entrepreneur program for the postdocs. So the problem I'm going to talk about today is that current temper indicating seals are not technologically advanced. Here on the right, I have a picture of a seal that we use every single day at the lab. And you can see that it's an adhesive seal that is flexible. It's attached to a container. And when you remove it, it shows this void message. So when you use a seal like that, you expect that you're tracking some nuclear material, for example. You place it in the container. You seal it up, and then you leave it there. So when time passes, you go back, you pick it up, you do your inspection, and you hope to find it intact. But you could find it tampered as well. So because of these technologies that are not very technologically advanced, they're easy to bypass if you have the right chemicals. They require constant and manual monitoring. It requires workers to come up close to them. And believe it or not, nowadays we still do inventory with pen and paper. It's usually two highly skilled workers that come to the floor with pen and pencil. They write down the number, they check that everything is intact. The other worker checks what this first one have done, and then they move on. So tampering can go undetected until it's too late. So our solution is a smart seal to provide real-time tamper visibility for these high-value assets. Some intrinsic features that we're having with it is that it's irreversible. So when tampering occurs, it leaves a permanent proof that this tampering happened. It's plug and play. It's designed to work with existing RFID infrastructure. It will provide instant verification because instead of going up close to the container and checking if it's intact, you can do it from far away using your RFID readers. And this creates trusted protection to safeguard brands, consumers, and supply chains. And in this image is how we envision it being applied. The seal we're developing is flexible in a similar format to the one I showed you in the previous picture, but with embedded electronics that can do all that and communicate via RFID. So the product itself is a secure tamper indicating seal that can detect this unauthorized access. It can transmit this tamper status using radio frequency identification. We also are working on enabling encrypted data communication, and it allows the seals to be authenticated at any checkpoint. So the application that we're envisioning for this is for high-value assets. Right now, we're funded by Los Alamos National Lab through the NNSA. So every single idea we had and every design we created is based on the need of nuclear safeguards. But we're looking to expand beyond that. We can, since I'm 2 months into this postdoc entrepreneur program, we've been doing customer discovery calls, and we think that there are several markets that could benefit from a technology like that. The first one is pharmaceuticals, to prevent any counterfeit medications to enter the market. The same thing with semiconductors industry. You can think of very specialized chips that you need on your aircraft or that the government needs. You need to make sure that it's not a fake. So you need to seal your products and ensure that you're getting the authentic item. And also for secure logistics. We do have a lot of things that get transported both inside the lab and also to external plants from things that we produce. So we need to ensure that from the moment it's loaded into the truck to the moment it's delivered, it's the same thing, nobody had access to it. So with this technology, we're rethinking tamper security. As I mentioned, these conventional seals, they require manual visual inspection, and they provide no digital authentication. Some of them have a barcode, and that's it. And because they're so simple in design, if you have the right tools, you can create a replica of that. So our smart seal is designed to change that. We're building it on a secure and authenticable architecture, so that each seal can be uniquely identified using its embedded electronics. We can maintain the encrypted integrity of the data, even if the seal is broken. So if you try to remove it or if you break it, the main architecture of the seal keeps working so that you can still transmit the data and transmit the fact that tampering has occurred. And it's digitally verifiable. So that's compatible with the RFID infrastructure that is widely used outside of high security environments. So with all of this, we're enabling remote validation scalable deployment of this product, and trust and authenticity across the entire supply chain. And to achieve that, we have a great team working with us. We have around 30 staff members, including, for example, Rollin has over 30 years of experience in nuclear safeguards. And we have students, we have people from several different backgrounds. And our team is the team leading the implementation of radio frequency identification at Leno. And often, very, very often, commercial solutions cannot be applied to our environments, so we need to come up with our own solutions. And that's how this seal happened. So right now, we have a working prototype. In the next year, we want to finalize this prototype iteration and validate the reliability of this tamper detection by doing several tests of mechanical stresses, chemical attacks, vibration, handling, and we are working on power optimization for that as well. Then for next year, we want to do controlled field trials with selected partners to validate the performance of this seal in real-world environments and collect performance data and usability feedback from clients. We also want to refine the hardware for manufacturability. Right now, we are funded through the lab. We invested around $1 million in a manufacturing lab so we can create this in-house in small scales. So if we were to create this in large production, we would need to partner up with someone else. Right now, we're seeking insights on both commercial opportunities, applications that any of you have any idea, please come and talk to us, and expected MVD for this technology. We're also looking for technical advisors. We have a lot of advisors actually in safeguards, but if you have experience with all these other sectors that I mentioned, please come and talk to me, reach out to us. This is my email, but I'll be around for the rest of the day, and thank you so much for being here today.
So quite a diverse selection, right? I'm going to pick up on something that was talked about a little early today, and it's that we have everything at Los Alamos. You have an entrepreneurial support program for PhDs in which you mentioned doing customer discovery work. And what I would like to, which I think is very, very important, I know it happens at all the institutions. We do our best to bring I-Corps programs, other venture programs where we're actually discovering customers, and then you sort of lead your development towards what those customers want. I'd like to hear from the rest of the panel about their intention to do that kind of work or their experience with that, and maybe Dr. Razzini, you can start with what you, how you learned that and the value of that, and then we'll take it from the rest of the panels.
Absolutely. So we have Colleen here. Colleen is one of the leads on that program. They are absolutely amazing. We started doing customer discovery calls last year before we were even selected to the program. They've been providing a lot of support to us because very often we're so focused on the science and in a single application, and we miss opportunities. I remember, I don't think I'll ever forget one day in class that they said, you do all this amazing work, you get a R&D 100, and then this work is just for this one customer and it dies. You don't take the market, you don't take this opportunity to expand it and make it, keep updating it, keep making it better. So they are there to help us with that. And learning on IP, like I've never had experience with that before, learning how to do customer discovery calls, talking to their guests that comes to class, such as different venture capitalists. So it's a 6 months long program, and we learn a lot. It's great.
Thanks. So I'm a little early in that phase where just a few years ago, we were just doing research, right? So when I spoke with Patricia and the team at Arrowhead, that's when we realized that that was our potential to commercialize some of the research that we are doing. So we are starting our footsteps, and I feel like that is also the right time to kind of join the discovery, right? Because we don't know how things are going to kind of turn out. And right now, our focus, and we've been brainstorming with the Arrowhead department to kind of come up with our target audiences, who can we talk to, where our technology kind of takes us, right? So the plan so the plan that I have is to kind of offsite business that, small business that we could start from the university associated with NMSU, and then expand from there, go to the customers and things like that. And I think, trusting, having Arrowhead or some other kind of organization that kind of helps us navigate those things without going to LANL to do the 6 months course, I think it's a much better kind of like a model for a faculty, because I have to teach 9 months of the year and I can't move.
Yeah, please.
I mean, if you're at the National Labs, we have the opportunity to do the DOE I-Core, which it's great, right? It helps you figure out that this tech, our tech, LLMs that cannot lie, it's something that everyone can use, but you still got to figure out who's going to use it first. And so being able to go and interview people in many different fields to figure out your initial customer is going to take a long time to move, and it's hard to find the right people in that field to talk to. Maybe you should pivot. That's useful. And then that also helps you focus your research on what does the beachhead market really care about, right? Besides the core technology, how do you have to deliver it? And that can inform your research before it's sort of too late to pivot.
Great, thank you.
About customer discovery, that is why right before writing the proposal, we have already incorporated that in terms of having a Redware as a space, space for they are in the space industry, and so that's why we have, for the next 3 years, we'll be working with them. It's not just, once you have a product, because you have a product, but then there is a market. That market is not going to align with what we have done in the research. So that is why, right from the day one, we have like 3 NASA institutions, 2 universities. Then also we have the Redware, which is a industry by themselves, and they know the market very well. They will come back to us telling us that you have got these characteristics. Can you add these characters? What to do? This and that. So I think that is very important, that we need to have that kind of thing at the beginning, so that way you do not make a product and then look for a customer. Then you will not find one, because their requirement is different from what you have done, and that's why we go together. And that is why our team is like, we have got nine team members. We have got technical, and then we have got NASA, because we know that NASA probably will be the first customer that they will be using this technology. But then we also want to use this for the terrestrial purposes, so that Redware is there to help us and also guide us and also advise us. So that is what I think we should do. That is why, in fact, in the New Mexico, in the R&D, in the booklet that came out last July, it says very clearly that we should follow a kind of a format where government, industry, and like your national labs or whatever it is. So you should have a full team, so that way everybody can complement each other. And then by the time this funding is being used, we come up with a product which will be very, very useful for everybody. And right away we can apply it.
Excellent. I think that's that last point that you made about partnerships in the state. So we had a nice discussion at noon about New Mexico and what we have here in our resources. And I really want to call out the Rainforest team for hosting this event for 10 years and for causing this interaction. And we're sitting in a state, we may not have the biggest industrial markets here, but we certainly have a lot of research going on from different perspectives. And it sounds like that has been a big value to you in interacting with the other labs and universities right here and outside of the state. Do any of you want to speak to the idea of collaborations within the state a little bit more?
Sure. Yeah, we have a lot of collaboration with UNM. We often have students that come over. We have collaborations with ongoing research with some professors. Of course, I'm talking about my field, but I know that Leno in general is always seeking opportunities to collaborate. And we also write projects together with Sandia National Labs, depending on what we're doing. And we're always open to collaborating. And sometimes it's even better to bring several different perspectives. And it's easier sometimes to hire students that can bring in that fresh new idea, and we can help them in their careers, and they help us with our projects. So we really love having this sort of collaborations.
Excellent. Great.
Thanks. And I kind of have the opposite point of view of this, right? So I'm at the university, I have the fresh new talent, and I'm looking for partners with the national labs. Okay? So I think developing a program where we could kind of apply our technology and research with the national labs is one of the key things that we really want to do at NMSU with our research groups too.
Great. Thank you. Any comments, Cale? Okay. Great. Okay, so most of you started your presentation by stating a problem, and then you proposed your solution. One of the things we think about on the side of commercializing is, your time to market, and who's out there doing the same thing. How are you tracking other emerging solutions to those problems so that you can keep your technology advancement and readiness for the market apprised of that?
Yeah, so that is why we go to these technical conferences. Like I go to ASME, I go to, that's the American Institute Society of Mechanical Engineer. I also go to AIAA, which is American Institute of Aeronautics and Astronautics. I'm also a member of ASTM, American Society of Testing and Materials. So these are the places that when we go, we talk and we have this workshop kind of thing. In fact, everywhere I go, I try to present, these are the results that we are getting. And so we have a very healthy kind of a discussion, and then we try to find out how we can help each other if there is anything. And like for me, ASTM standard is very important because any industry, they want to use this material for their for any purpose, so they have to go through the ASTM standard to find out how to do the test. And that's why I've been invited to write this ASTM standard, which I'm doing right now. So we are also, simultaneously we are doing everything so that by the time we are done in these 3 years, we have a 3D printer which can print it. We have some product, and we've been working with the Redware Industries, NASA, and we also have been working with ASTM for ASTM standard with these industries, and the ASTM standards are there, so they will feel comfortable using this because they know how to test it. And that is why it's very, very important that we just do not just do a research and look for somebody's going to use it. They are not going to use it because they don't know what is the characteristic, how you have done the test, or whatever it is. They don't have the confidence. And when you have a big team, like everybody is involved, so the confidence level goes up. And that is what we try to do by sharing in all those some of the technical forums.
Very good, very good. Any comments? Yeah.
Of course, there's always the sort of academic ways you can do that: conferences, publications, reading patent literature. We're lucky in large language models. I mean, everyone's talking about it, and I don't know that you can avoid using them nowadays, right? If you Google something, they throw their LLM solution at the top of the page, right? That's how they get 2 billion users per month. And so, it makes the news every time someone comes out with something new, or maybe more humorously and I guess better from a competitive perspective, every time they make a really big mistake. That's something, folks could avoid if they used our tool instead.
I would add a little bit to this. Apart from, on top of the academic conferences and stuff like that, we also have LinkedIn where people are, we have LinkedIn where people showcase what they're doing in our field, especially in terms of satellite tracking and debris monitoring. There are barely 5 companies all over the world. So when we dive in, we are going to be one of the first few companies that are giving you the solutions that you need. So how we know about new products, usually nowadays there's kind of a tech showcase that they come up with, putting on LinkedIn, and if the company is very, very, very new, probably TikTok. These guys know more than
Yeah, on top of everything that they already mentioned, through Leno, we have the Feynman Center of Innovation, which is the one that hosts this postdoc entrepreneur program. And they have access to a lot of tools that we don't have. For example, for looking for patents and looking for companies, looking for how much money has been invested in some companies that are coming up. And I had never heard of this before when I was just doing research. So bringing this other side, more of the business sides, has been really helpful to expand our point of view.
Excellent, excellent. So those are my selfish questions. I don't mean to hog the question space. Anybody in the audience have a question for any of the panel members? We're very open to that. So, seeing none. So if you do, just come forward and please engage here. But I'm very interested in the Tamper technology and where your commercial markets really are heading. I remember there was a big anti-tamper trend, but we're really talking about something even bigger in the tamper space. So would you like to tell us about your pharmaceutical you mentioned and some of that? How are they appreciating you? How is it when you go to them with your solution coming out of a federal lab?
We've been finding it hard to find the right people to connect to because there are so many different steps that we could introduce our seal, and it's been hard to find the right person. One of the things that they have to comply is the cold chain, making sure that once the sealed product is transported, it has remained within a certain temperature, for example. And we can bring that, but we haven't really had any success entering that market yet.
So I think we have a lot of pharmaceutical knowledge in the state with some of the investment firms, so maybe you'll have an opportunity to meet some folks from that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, excellent. Let's see, a couple other questions. When it comes to your concept validation towards the needs of a customer, I'm wondering from the large language model perspective, you've got an awful lot of activity around. So how are you honing in on that?
So, I mean, for our work within the labs, it's pretty easy because we go find someone who's involved in analyzing these national or global security incidents, and you take them. You can go out and ask them, hopefully. You start the interview with, hey, what sort of things do you need? What's your biggest pain point? And then you can end with, here's sort of the dashboard that we can provide to you to help you make decisions. So we can then ask questions about, do you want something that's automated? Do you want a human to be in the loop? Does this speed things up? Should we maybe give you a ranked list of different things that may have caused this, this blast to occur, for instance? And you get a bunch of yes-nos that help validate it.
Yeah.
For customer discovery outside of the labs, it's a lot more difficult. And especially if you're going to a B2C model where you're going straight to consumers, it's kind of interesting. We don't sort of go out to stores as you might if you're typically going after consumers and say, hey, you like the cell phone or whatever it is. But what we ended up doing was we'd go talk to a lawyer who thought might use this for their law firm and say, okay, what tools does your law firm provide? And in many cases, we found for lawyers perhaps or for national security analysts, a number of them responded with, our employers don't provide us with anything, but I subscribe to, let's say, ChatGPT because it makes me better at work, and so it's worth the $20 a month to have that edge where it can decrease my workload and let me meet all the goals that I have. And so from that, we learned an important point that, there's a lot of people who are willing to pay for it themselves out of their own pocket. It's not an employer where $20 a month really doesn't mean anything, right? It's somebody who has to go out and spend their own money, and they're willing to do it because it helps them at work. So it's about making the most use of those customer discovery interviews as possible.
Exactly. Great, great, great. Dr. Ghosh, I have a question for you specifically, because you've been working on these various technologies for a long time. You've been in the state for quite a while. What about this one might strike an entrepreneur inside of you?
So, as I have said that, we started with a hypothesis that human body, your brain is the main part of your body, and that is being protected by this structure, and that is a similar thing we need for the space. And now they have been thinking about going to Mars, but they cannot go because of the radiation shielding, all of those things. And I can see a very, very one-to-one relation. And so that we thought that's why we started thinking about it for a long time, like 2004 we started. And we've been doing one after another. We started with the acoustics, vibration, then radiation, then thermal, and like your blast load, everything we have done with this concept. And everywhere we got very good results. The reason is that because the nature, we are learned from nature. Nature has already done all of those things, and that is how, if you know how to kind of copy nature, then you will probably see that nature has done that, all of those things that we are trying to do. So we have done tests, experiments, we have done simulations. We'll try to validate, we'll make sure that and then to our surprise, we see that every time we are right, because we started with a good hypothesis that the human skull structure has been evolved 200 million years to a point that it is giving us, our brain, the best possible environment. Okay? So that is why we have validating every day. And so now we think that we got so much results. And right now I've got 3 NASA projects, and they all are thinking about, and now we have got in one of the projects, we got like 100% in the rating. Like all 3 reviewers give us like 100 out of 100. This is a very good concept. So that's why like we are getting a lot of confidence in our technology now. We know that now it's time to go to the market, and we can, as you can see, that you can use it for space, it can use for terrestrial purpose, whether it's the medical industry or whether it's like a defense with your helmets, like a NFL helmet is a big issue. Right. We've been trying to work on that. So that is why we feel that validation is very important, and we are doing that.
Excellent, excellent. Any entrepreneurial or start your own company desires from anyone on your research team with your outputs here?
We're exploring that actively.
Great.
We're beginning to chat with people about what that looks like, and we're interested in learning more. It seems like there's sort of some reasons maybe why AI is popular on the West Coast, and we're trying to navigate something we've learned, which is that it seems like mountain state investors may be a little bit more conservative in what they're willing to give you. And for certain fields like AI, I think you have to move fast and break things. So we're trying to figure that out, but we are interested. And anyone who would like to work with us would be interested in speaking with you more.
Fantastic. Juie, yeah.
So our team itself, when we learned that we could make commercial products from our research, that's when we started moving into the business entrepreneurial side of things, building business plans and learning how to do that. So we are kind of trying those avenues quite, I would say, aggressively in that sense.
Yeah, for me, not right now. The way we see this right now is finding a licensing partner.
Yes, it's a tough call sometimes inside the lab or university, because we think they could do great work out there if they started a company, and yet we need them doing that great research too. So, and of course it's a personal choice, because as we've heard about founders and investment, it's a different life than what we're in. Open to questions from the audience, and I need someone to give me a time check. I don't. Oh, hey, if anyone has a question, hurry up. Okay. Great.
Hello.
Hey.
Sorry, hello there. I'm going to lean over, do a dip. Ghosh, this is a question for you. I know this has been focused on space, but you mentioned some of the terrestrial applications for the simultaneous solid liquid 3D printer manufacturing program. Can you, or platform, can you kind of get the wheels spinning in all of our heads about, outside of helmets, where you could use this so that we could maybe help connect you with the right people outside of space?
Yes. So when you go for, take for example your car. So we designed this car having a crushing zone. So when you have a accident, that is the reason what absorbs all the energy. Okay. So and then what happens? Supposing if you have a crash, then you cannot use that bumper again. So you just throw it, you buy a new one, because that is it goes into the plastic zone, and then you cannot use it. But in our case, when you have the fluid, supposing you have a bang, then the fluid will go spread out, okay? And then when this, the impact is gone, so it will come back. So you get the resiliency, and that is where, like, you don't have to buy another, bumper, because the same bumper you can use again and again. Like wherever there's an impact, so you can use the, similarly your NFL, like the helmet. So same thing, like, if this, if you bang on this once, okay, then the question is this again, you cannot use that helmet again, but we can, if this fluid comes back and give you the resiliency, you can use the same helmet again and again and again. So like this is like impact, like radiation, like when you go to the medical, supposing you are going for X-ray or CT scan or this and that, all those panels that they use, so, and then next to that there is all the patients are sitting, so you really need those panels to be radiation hardened, and this is our structure can do that kind of thing much cheaper, okay? So that is where again you can use the radiation. Now about the thermal, because right now in New Mexico we are, like when it is in summer it's been so hot. Now supposing, think about, now if you have a way to, in the daytime, you have got a passive heating and cooling, so you'll probably reduce your thermal bills so much. So you can design that kind of thing into your structure, and you can get that kind of a protection or whatever that you are looking for. So you can use almost everywhere.
So with that, thank you. Thank you. I think we're at time, and I believe we have a reception to follow. And I want to wish the panelists excellent luck in your future as you proceed down this technology path and the institutions you're working with. And thank you all for staying and listening.
Okay, we're reaching the end of our program. We do have one speaker left who's going to be doing closing remarks, and that's David Perez. David is an accomplished entrepreneur who has taken 2 companies from idea to exit in the fields of healthcare technology, data analytics, and digital marketing. He's a passionate innovator, adept at identifying and capitalizing on business opportunities. With a strong background in sales, marketing, and branding, David also has extensive experience raising capital, mergers and acquisitions, SaaS platforms, software development, market research, and education. As the CEO of the Santa Fe Group, David led the sale of the Shared Assessments Program to OneTrust in May 2021. So David has started other companies as well. He's a mentor for the Latino Business Action Network Executive Education Program at the Stanford Graduate School of Business. He's won numerous awards and given talks. He's a graduate of the University of Vermont, and we welcome him today to provide closing remarks.
Thank you, Lisa. Hi, everybody. I'm going to come up here because that's kind of hidden. What a day, huh? I think it's so impressive when I come to these events where we get to listen to all the talent that we have in this state and see what is being worked on at this one was pretty much universities and some of the labs. So I'm always invigorated coming to these events. And so some of the themes that we saw were this, as I said, scientific talent. And many of these are very much early technologies. And there were a number of questions around, well, who would buy this? What's the product? And sometimes the answer was, I don't know, because I'm a scientist or I'm an academic. And so one of the things we really need to work on here in the state is nurturing and importing and encouraging business talent that's at the same caliber as our scientific talent, right? Venture-backable entrepreneurs that ideally have raised money, built companies, built teams, and grown businesses, and then sold those businesses. So, Lisa, you got to bring all those people here. And we're going to bring more. So I think that's a really important part of this venture piece. You know, I was really thrilled today. We heard a lot about advanced energy, bioscience, aerospace, national defense, and I only heard the word quantum mentioned once. So it's not all quantum, guys. It's not all quantum all the time. So that's really refreshing as well. I think it was Lee Rand that made the point at the venture is how accessible our ecosystem is. And that's something, having come from New York 16 years ago, I really found welcoming here in New Mexico was we're all literally one conversation away from anybody. And I haven't met anybody that isn't welcoming and saying, hey, you know what, Peter, you should meet Bob. And I'll put the invitation out in an email I'd like to introduce you to because of this, or that. So for those of you out here that are looking to meet people, it's really, don't be shy. There's so much accessibility and talent here. And, you know, there was some mention of the SIC, right? So we all know about now our $71 billion sovereign wealth fund. About $1.4 billion has gone to VCs. And we have to earn the right to that capital as an ecosystem. That's Lisa and I were talking about a little bit. We've got to compete with the world because those are national funds that are not just investing in New Mexico because they have to, although I wish there were little stronger connections with that capital, but we have to earn the right. We have to perform as an ecosystem, as startups, to do that. And Meredith Dixon, Representative Dixon, spoke earlier this morning. So there's hundreds of millions of dollars that have been allocated in this budget session to go into the market through endowed chairs at the universities, and much of that through the New Mexico Economic Development Department. And that is non-dilutive capital. Isn't that a nice word? Non-dilutive capital. So those are grants. Those are contracts. And so what we've seen over the last, really, I would say the last 24 to 36 months is much better strategic alignment between all the departments in the state, particularly between the SIC and the Economic Development Department, and focusing on the particular categories that we're focused on: bioscience, advanced energy, climate technology, quantum AI, advanced manufacturing, which is really a horizontal. So I see that there's really good coordination and cooperation going on. And as part of the outgrowth of that, I'll talk a little bit about the project I've been working on, which is the New Mexico Innovation Hub. And that really came out of stakeholder conversations I had over the last 2 years about what's needed to support our ecosystem. And we have the rainforest here in Albuquerque with UNM, which has been very successful, and we need more. And part of it was really around facilities to support our startups. So many of the conversations you saw today, ultimately those are companies that require a plant, a manufacturing facility, a lab, maybe a wet lab. We're not like California just coding a dating app. We're actually doing important work here. And so we need the facilities to support that. So the Innovation Hub, we're launched in Santa Fe. We have a 32,000 square foot building, which we're moving. We've got more than half of it already leased out, but we're moving in startups and other organizations there. We have plans to develop a 5-acre live-work campus. So we'll have about 150,000 square feet of lab, office, and industrial space, plus townhouse development as part of the campus. So it's in the center of Santa Fe at the old College of Santa Fe. Many people have lived in Santa Fe for 25 years, have never driven down that road. So it's kind of a secret, and that people show up and they're just blown away at what's there. It's on a 62-acre campus. And so we've already filled, there was an old tennis club there. So we filled a 22,000 square foot building with 2 fusion companies, and the Santa Fe Community College is doing a workforce training lab there. So I encourage you, if you've got a startup, if you're looking for a lab or office space, come and see me, and we'd love to continue to build the ecosystem in Santa Fe as well. So Lisa, I'll give it back to you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, David. That was a great close for our day. And I want to take a moment and recognize the Rainforest staff and staff from any of our partners that are here. Would you please stand up, raise your hands, so we can thank you for all your hard work. Okay, with that, I don't want to stand between us and the reception. So that concludes our program, and feel free to stick around and network some more and enjoy the reception.